have not showered yet today, and it just came from.
You
This is like
can't tell.
actually
Totally
happening
fine.
at the like perfect day to like share my entrepreneurial story because I'm having a very business owner day today. So
Welcome to the Growth Mavericks podcast, where we know that entrepreneurship isn't just about strategy, it's about stamina. It's about disrupting your default and getting comfortable being uncomfortable so you don't burn out before you break through. I'm your host, Adam Callanan. Let's get to work. Our conversation today is with Amita Massey. She is the founder of Glowbody. It's a nutritional supplement company, revolves around protein. That comes from a pretty epic background and story, one that nearly took her life. She is not only, frankly, a delight to talk to and converse with, but she's really, really honest and authentic in ways that are hard, and that a lot of people are not, particularly in this crazy world of AI and social media. We talk a lot about her company, her story, what got her there, the 80-minute walk that she builds into her time every day as a means of mental escape and brainstorm, and remaining healthy and resilient to deal with these crazy ups and downs that we take as entrepreneurs. I really, really enjoy this conversation, again, because her willingness to be open and raw about things that are, traditionally you would think would be really personal and private, but she shares them in a way that I think can be really helpful to other people, entrepreneurs and not. So I hope you enjoy the conversation today with Amita Massey.
yeah,
Let's just start there. What kind of, you're having a very business ownery, entrepreneurial day today. What's going
I
on?
am. Well, it's just funny because like I feel I have this like I guess it's a saying where whenever you plan your day, it never goes according to plan. But then when you create a day that seems like super hectic and doesn't have a plan, it always goes really smoothly. And so today I had like a plan. I was like, I'm gonna wake up at 5:30. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna get my training done. I'm gonna come home. I'm gonna shower, do my makeup, pack orders, go to the podcast. It's all gonna go really smooth. And then I like woke up late and then I like couldn't find anything to eat for breakfast. And then there was like too many people at the gym. So my workout took an hour and a half and then I couldn't shower. So it's just like,
Perfect.
I was like, you know what? We're going to show up at the podcast in my workout clothes. I have not showered.
Hey, welcome to life. That's perfect. Yeah. I see nothing wrong with that. It's just chaos ensues and you grab the tiger by the tail and here we go.
Exactly. I was like, it's fine. I'll just like pretend I'm wearing concealer and makeup and we'll carry on.
I don't have a lot of domain expertise in that realm, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Um,
So
let's start at the beginning. What's your story? How did you get to Glowbody and doing what you're doing now?
yeah. So, I mean, if we want to start all the way from the beginning, which
You can go as far back as you want to
we
go.
could do.
We have time.
So basically, like, well, the premise of my business is it's a wellness brand. My goal is to empower women, specifically mental wellness. But I mean, my personal mission is to really just like empower everyone's wellness and just make sure everyone's taking care of themselves and everyone understands how important it is to take care of themselves. And that came from a personal story. When I was in high school, I was diagnosed with a really severe eating disorder. And I had, it was anorexia, and I was going through that for about 5 years, super severe anxiety and depression. If we want to get really dark, I did try and like take my own life when I was 17. Like there was a lot that happened in those 5 years. And we still don't, eating disorders are something that's very like, I don't know what the right word is, but people don't really understand them. People think it's that, you just want to be skinny and you don't want to eat, but there is so many underlying parts to where an eating disorder comes from. It comes from need for control. It comes from having depression, anxiety, and then needing to find some way to cope with that. And, some people choose alcohol. Some people choose to overeat. Some people choose to starve themselves. Like there's so many different ways that mental illness like shows itself. And so mine was in an eating disorder. And it took me on a 5-year journey. And eventually I kind of, got to a point where I wasn't recovering. I spent about 2 years like in and out of like hospital visits, like, really, really, really sick. And it got to a point when I graduated high school that I was like, okay, I can't really live the rest of my life like this. Like, what if I want to go to university? I want to have, kids. I was in a relationship at that time and I was like, I can't be with another human if I hate myself. That's not really going to work out for me. So, I decided that I was going to choose the path of recovery and not choose the, other path, which would be to die, basically, eventually. And so I just started to teach myself about like nutrition, and I started teaching myself about how to exercise for strength and wellness, not just to be skinny. And I started a little health food blog that I called Food Glow. And the idea of it was that I was on the search for my glow because I looked sallow and sad all the time. And from there, it just kind of started to evolve. I really started to enjoy like baking, and I started using protein powders as a means to like bake with. And I would make smoothies for myself to help like put on weight and help recover from exercise. And my first business was when I was 18. I started a protein donut company. And that's when I started to
Sounds
really,
great.
yeah, it was awesome. I started to really love the world of consumer packaged goods and, getting the high from getting into a new grocery store and learning how to wholesale and distribute. And that business kind of took a turn in COVID. It was really not a very sustainable business model. And then I decided that protein powder was a huge part always of my recovery. It was always something that reminded me to care for myself, because every day I would wake up and I would make myself a smoothie, or I'd make myself, protein oatmeal. And I did that all through my recovery. And it was my reminder to myself that like, I need to feel my body because I love it. I'm not feeling my body because I hate it, or I'm not going to not eat today. Or it was just always my reminder. And I was like, this is such a great way for me to take my story of, how a protein powder literally helped me recover from my eating disorder, but then also create a beautiful product that other people can keep in their homes that remind them every day when they drink it that they are caring for their bodies and that they should do something good for themselves. So that's where I am today. And here we are.
I mean, that is an incredible, you just covered 20 plus years in like 4 minutes,
Pretty
but
much.
that is an incredible synopsis. If we can, we're not going to spend this whole time going down deep, dark rabbit holes. We're going to go down some rabbit holes.
It's a big story.
We'll only spend a little bit of time, because I think there's a lot in there, and there are probably some really valuable gems in there. When you made the choice to make that change, and like, it sounds like you kind of got to a fork in the road. It was like, either we're going down the dark one, or we're gonna make some significant changes and go down the light one. Mm-hmm. Was that because of an event that happened? And it's like, I see this in other things. Like I have friends and I've interviewed other people that like got in a plane crash and like lost a leg, and that took him down a totally different path, and he's a different person as a result. Yeah. Or, just these highly traumatic events that I learn a lot from.
Honestly, I don't think there was not really one specific moment where it just kind of like clicked in my head. It was very gradual. It was like, I would get up from a chair and feel like I was going to pass out. And like, I got tired of feeling the way I was feeling, or like, I wasn't allowed to exercise. Like, I literally wasn't even allowed to go for walks. I was so, like, my body was so depleted. And so it just kind of got to a point where I was just tired. I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm going to collapse at any moment in the day. And, lots of things got taken away from me because I wasn't allowed to exercise. I wasn't allowed to stay home by myself. I wasn't allowed to drive anywhere by myself. I wasn't allowed, if I was eating, I had to have someone with me. Like I was constantly being watched all the time, and people were scared of like what I was going to do to myself. So I was always being chaperoned, and it just got to a point where I was like, I can't, like, I'm not going to do that. I was like I was turning 18, and I was like, I'm like going to be an adult now. I can't, have my mom watch me every time I eat.
So it's like the culmination of a lot of things.
Yeah. So
it was piled onto each other. Yeah,
very
that totally
gradual.
Makes sense. So let's talk protein. How do you make a protein powder? I take a ton of protein. I have for a very long time, so I totally get it.
Yeah.
I've never really like thought through the process of how do you make a protein?
Yeah. It's honestly like, it's funny. I feel like I have like, everyone's like, this is exactly how you do it. I literally woke up one day and it was like, I had like a download. I was like, I'm starting a protein powder company. So I literally Googled it. I was like, how do you start a protein powder company? Like, I know I can't make it myself because I didn't know how to do that. And I literally just Googled it. And I was like, how do you make a protein powder company? And the first thing that came up was you need to find a manufacturer. So then I Googled protein powder manufacturers in Canada. And then I called a bunch of manufacturers, and eventually I found one I really liked. And then I did create the formula. Like that was something I just had the knowledge. Like I have tried every protein powder out there. I knew what I wanted in the product. I just didn't know how to.
Do you mean like from a macronutrient standpoint?
Yeah, and ingredients. So like, I knew I wanted a grass-fed whey. I knew I wanted collagen in it, sucralose free. Like I knew all those things. I took everything I didn't like about every other protein powder and was kind of did that. But I Googled it. That's how I started my company. So
I love that because you said something at the beginning of that is that like everybody has their own version of you have to do it this way and you have to do it that way. And I don't know if you can see this sign on here. It literally says question everything.
Oh.
Because of that, like I wholeheartedly believe that if you have something from somebody where they're saying it has to be done a certain way, that to me is a massive red flag.
Yeah.
Like, no, it just can't. I can't possibly follow that path. So, and from a resourcefulness standpoint, Google can answer most questions. Like, or ChatGPT at this point, like the better version of Google.
Yeah.
Like, that's really cool.
Yeah. And it was it was so interesting because I just kind of had told myself, I was like, if this is meant to happen, like it's going to happen. And the worst thing of me not trying to start this is that I'm never going to start it. So I'm going to just try. Like I was 19 and I was like, I have, $15,000 of savings and I'm going to put all of that into a run of protein powder. And I Googled my way through it.
So you found a manufacturer, or maybe was it a couple and then you like whittled it down to one, or did you just find one and ran?
I really just found one. I ended up kind of narrowing it down to two. And then what was the deciding factor was the samples. I got samples from each of them.
Okay.
And then the first one, like I was really glad that I kind of thought of this, but the very first one, they were really trying to upsell me everything. So they were like, put your powders in tubs. You need to custom print this. You need to order this. Like they were very much like wanting me to start big. And then the other manufacturer was like, we're going to do one label on a Mylar bag. We're going to do, MOQ of 100. Like they were very much like willing to work with the size I was at. And then that's just when and their products were like, they had good quality sourcing. And then that was how I chose them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you were direct to consumer starting out? Are you entirely direct to consumer today, or are you doing some distribution as well?
So actually most of my business is like wholesale distribution.
Okay.
My e-commerce business is like on the up and coming, but because of my protein donut business, I had gone direct to grocery stores. So it was very easy for me to pivot to grocery stores with the protein because I knew them all already. Like I knew all the contacts in Calgary. So right away I started selling in stores. Which is not great for your margins right off the bat. Like, I was grateful I had a lot of good connections here that they were willing to, some did consignment with me and they were willing to kind of be nice about it. But a lot of it was grocery stores at the beginning.
So did you, from this protein business, not the protein donut business, did you pop up like a Shopify store, something like that at the beginning?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is that growth even if it's small relative or smaller relative to the wholesale, has that grown just organically, or have you been doing some paid media stuff in there?
Yeah, so actually up until last month, it's been all organic, just like word of mouth through pop-ups, through Instagram. Like about 90% of the traffic that comes to my Shopify site comes directly from our Instagram, which is interesting because we only have like 4,000 followers, but they're all incredibly like engaged, which is really nice.
It's great.
So yeah, it's really all just come through Instagram because from my previous business, I just turned that Instagram into the new one. So I had all these followers already, and then it just kind of became into Glowbody. But about a month ago, I recently just started running Facebook ads, which has been a really interesting journey. But yeah, it's been all organic up until now.
You say it's been an interesting journey. I have some significant history and scar tissue operating Facebook ads. My last company, Bottle Keeper, we built entirely on Facebook ads.
Wow.
And I mean entirely.
That's amazing.
To tens of millions of revenue entirely on Facebook.
Crazy.
But this was 2004. I mean, we got acquired in 2021. So this is 2014 through then, which was like the heyday of Facebook. I mean, like from 14 to probably 17, we almost couldn't spend it fast enough.
Wow.
So it's a totally different world
Yeah.
there today. But so I'm interested in what you're seeing coming at it from the standpoint of starting B2B. We didn't go into B2B until like year 4.
Mm-hmm.
We were completely direct to consumer.
Yeah.
So you're doing it the opposite, which I think is today is a much smarter way to do it. I think being
Really?
entirely paid media related is dangerous. Yeah.
Oh my God. Sometimes
Yeah. I mean, there's like a blend, right? I mean, everything in life is sort of revolves around a balance to some extent, like being at the extremes on either side tend to be dangerous.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are you seeing so far in the Facebook world? Are you noticing the dollars that you're spending there? Are they being impactful to the business, or is it too early, still just kind of figuring it out?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I originally kind of embarked on the running Facebook ads by myself. Again, Google. I was I just Googled it all, and I didn't quite understand the whole like testing part of ads and looking at the ad library and see what's other people are doing. I really was just like, okay, I need to just like take my Instagram reels and post them on Facebook ads and I'm going to get a bunch of sales. But then which is not how it works.
No, it's not.
So,
but you don't know that until you try it,
exactly.
Or I guess unless you Google it and someone tells you.
Exactly. Google was not helpful in that case. But I actually just randomly found someone. Apparently I had met them in high school, but they are kind of a whiz in Facebook ads. And they just said to me, like, you need to be making new ads and testing like it's your full-time job kind of thing. And so for the past month, I make ads every single day and I post ads every other day. And I'm obsessed with my Facebook ads dashboard. And I stare at it probably more than I stare at my own reflection. And it's been really interesting because the ads that you think are going to hit are never the ones that hit. And
of course,
one hits and then you double down on what you did on that one and then that one doesn't hit. And I just don't, like, I'm so confused about it all still.
Yeah.
But my kind of motto moving forward with it is like, with the protein, like you never know until you just do stuff. So I just make new creatives and different angles every day and just try and find what's going to work. And I've had some ones that have hit and I've got great, like return on my investment in them and they've profited. And then there's been some where it just, spends $200 and I get no sales from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there's this interesting blend inside of paid media that's part art and part science.
Yeah.
The art is the stuff that you're creating. The science is what happens after that.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's all really, really data driven. And I always have a hard time. I mean, I have a hard time with this literally every single day. What's obvious, to me is only obvious to me. And I have to like constantly remind myself of that. And at the end of the day, particularly in paid media, it's the data, excuse me, the data is what answers the questions.
Yeah.
What I thought, like we built a beer product company for guys our age, like in their 30s, and that's not who bought our product. Our product was purchased by women between 35 and 65. It was like 70% of our online sales were women's 35 to 65. So like what you think is going to be is rarely like what actually becomes, right?
Yes.
And it's at the end of the day, it's the people spending money that are answering the question.
Yeah.
They're the data point.
Yeah, it's crazy because that's something I noticed with mine is like I'm a bodybuilder. Like I compete in bodybuilding. It's like very much my world, and that's who I like thought this brand was going to market to. And the Pilates girls are my market. And I
Amazing.
don't do Pilates like ever. I think I've taken one Pilates class, but every ad that has something to do with Pilates or Pilates girl protein or like anything to do with that, that's the ad that hits. And I'm like, I don't even, okay.
You got to get into Pilates.
I got to start doing Pilates.
Yeah. Now you're a professional Pilates
Pretty
instructor.
much.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, you got to do what, I mean, that's literally what it is. We started creating a bunch of ads for women. Like,
yeah,
it's who's buying the product that's who your customer is.
Yeah.
So you gotta meet them where they're at.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I frequent all the Pilates events in Calgary now because I'm like,
that's awesome.
Those are my girls.
Perfect. What comes next? What is your protein lineup like now?
Like all my
and how does how does it evolve?
Yeah.
How do you evolve the product line? A business is like an engine. It needs fuel to run. For consumer brands and pretty much every company on the planet, that fuel is profit. Without it, growth stalls and everything feels harder than it should be. Pentane helps you fine-tune your business and advertising so you're running at peak performance, showing you exactly what's driving your margins, your cash flow, and pricing power. No more wasted time in spreadsheets or guessing what's working, waiting until you get your P&L next month to see if it's good or bad. Just the clarity and direction you need to grow faster, smarter, and with less stress. So if you're running a consumer brand, go to pentane.com and fuel your growth today.
That's actually a great question because that's something that I made a post on LinkedIn today kind of about like where the business is at right now and sort of in that like hockey stick growth. Mm-hmm. And we're like in the little like that little dip just swinging back and forth because
it's your inflection point.
Yep, and it's interesting place to be because like I mean, and I think we're gonna talk about this later with like taking care of yourself, but like I personally feel like the worst I ever have in running the business, like just like drained because it's in this like rocking back and forth point of like, okay, it's gonna grow, and then it's like, oh, okay, and it's the supplement industry is like kind of like that. You have to be innovative and be thinking of new things all the time in order to keep being relevant in front of people. And originally when I had started the business, I was like, I'm going to create $1 million, multi-million-dollar business off of a whey isolate collagen blend. But as the business has evolved, I mean, the protein does extremely well. It's one of a kind, like, it's whey isolate with collagen. It's sweetened with all, natural sweeteners. But as I'm starting to get more into the industry, I'm realizing that like that is not a product on its own that's going to create a business. It's a commodity item. Like whey isolate's been around since before I was born. Like it's like a lot of other people are doing whey isolate, fine already. And so to scale the business to where I want it to go, I think this is answering your question, but like there does have to be some innovation and that for me might look like, a ready to drink protein with something, more functional. It might come from doing more like consumable, like snack kind of foods, instead of just the supplement side of things. So it's kind of something that I'm really like having to sort of think about like what the identity of the business is going to look like as this little curve stops doing this is like, are we going to keep just being powdered supplements or like is, coming out with a bar or something going to take us here or is coming out with something else going to take us, So yeah, I think that answered your question. I might have just rambled there.
No, that's great. No, it really is. That's great. It makes incredible sense. And there are a ton of parallels into the things that we did with Bottle Keeper and the struggles we had. And frankly, we did not innovate our product line fast enough and we paid for it.
Yeah.
We had a tough year in 2019, basically, because we did not. I believed that this single product was like, it's all we ever have to make. And then by the time I realized, oh, we got a problem, like it took me a year and a half to get out the next like really good product.
Yeah.
So in your case with like, looking at bars or other consumables, other products that your Pilates women and surely some men
Yeah.
are going to love. Is it easy to test those things? Or like, do you have to commit and do like a full run of, a bar, for example?
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
Usually, like a lot of times, like for example, with the current products, every time I've launched something new with the current products, I kind of test it honestly just by talking to different people that I know are like, huge brand fans. And I'm like, okay, like when I was launching the aminos, I was like, what do you guys think if I launch a stevia sweetened essential amino acid supplement? And everybody's like, oh my God, I've been looking for a clean essential amino. And I launched it and it's doing extremely well. So it's like I
Cool.
I honestly just talk to people, kind of like how I
That's
just Google
perfect.
things. It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
No.
Because it can be really difficult to, especially in the supplement space when you're not allowed to make like you can't make stuff on your own just like in your kitchen, because Health Canada doesn't allow that. You do have to like do a run. Um,
Okay.
but in terms of the bar space, from who I've chatted with, most of their minimums are like 100,000 or 500,000 because it's a smaller like unit. So, yeah, I don't really know. I mean, if there is somebody out there who makes samples, let me know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I think, it sounds like you're on very much on the right track of like, you talk to the customer, they'll tell you what they want.
yeah.
That's what we did.
And also
I
just
mean,
being part of the industry. Like it's something I
yeah.
post about a lot on LinkedIn is like if you are selling your product, like you need to be like walking your walk and talking your talk. And that's how you're going to figure out what the right thing is to sell. Like I probably every month make like $5,000 in like e-transfer sales literally from just going to the gym every day. And like you
Mm.
and I learn from people, right? Like I learn what people want and I hear what people have to say about, the things they need to support their wellness. And it's yeah, there's so much I feel like people think that you have to like, chat GPT things to find, studies and papers on researching, but there's nothing better than researching by yourself and like literally going into the world of which you live in and why you created the product. Like I created this product because I found a problem because I'm an active individual who needs a protein powder and supplements to support my goals. So I should be hanging out around those people to figure out what they want as well. So yeah.
I mean, that's a great, like, I feel like AI is forcing us all to like knee jerk back to just being human beings.
Mhm.
And I mean, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing a podcast is because like the world of AI, everything is AI, this and AI, that. And although I use it for stuff, I
Mm.
use it actually quite a lot
Mhm.
and I can accomplish things that 6 months ago I couldn't have, particularly from like a development standpoint. I'm not a developer and I'm like an 80% developer. It's crazy
Cool.
but I think the way that AI is influencing communication and everything, like really knee jerks us back to exactly what you just talked about, which is like literally walk into the gym and have a conversation with a human being.
Yeah.
They will tell you what they want.
Yes.
There's so much beauty in that like human to human engagement and
Totally.
value.
And I mean, this might be me just being like super woo woo, but I feel like people like tell you things and you can like feel when something feels right. Like if someone's talking to me about, "Oh, I really wish there was a, protein gummy or something," which now there are. But like let's just say for example, you like I sit and I think about that and I'm like, "Okay, like someone obviously said that to me for a reason. Like is that something that I should think about? Like do I need to go to Google or ChatGPT and research it?" Like I just feel like you also retain things and you think about things more when someone says them to you versus if you just read it online because you interpret things so differently. So,
Yeah, it's part of a relationship.
mhm.
Even if it's just a passing one, it
Yeah,
becomes part of your life and psyche. That's great.
yeah,
There's again, I think that we as humans are pulling hard back into that direction, and I think it's an important positive
so
pull.
much. Yeah.
So shifting gears a little bit,
Hmm.
I think you're the perfect person to go down the how do you take care of yourself? What are the things that you do? I mean, I have a whole list of them for myself. So,
Hmm.
but I got to that from being in some not great places, mentally in some not great places.
Hmm.
And I have my sister's bipolar. So my family has some pretty significant history with mental health. And I'm acutely aware that it is far more prevalent than, I mean, people are starting to talk about it a lot more now, but it's a big thing. So I have been there myself. What do you do today It sounds like exercise is a huge piece of that, which is incredible and important. What do you do today to keep yourself resilient and durable through these like big swings? You're in that inflection point teeter totter right now.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing to mentally deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I cry a lot.
It happens. Yeah.
Um, no, I mean, to be honest, I mean, this is probably like one of the spots, like since my eating disorder, that I've found it the hardest to take care of my mental health, like right now, because the business does demand the most it's ever have and a lot from me. But then I'm also am trying to balance like the care I want to give to myself. And it is really difficult, like right now, to be like, okay, I don't know what eggs to put my basket in, but I have to constantly tell myself that like I am the basket. Like without me, like there is nothing. And so if I'm, you know, like stressing about the business and not prioritizing my wellness, the business isn't going to work. And I'm really just starting to learn now that like, that I'm really just starting to learn that now, like that you are your business. And if you're not healthy, your business isn't healthy. And I think like currently what I'm doing right now is I have just like non-negotiables. And so every day my non-negotiable is I go for an hour and 20-minute walk, which sounds like a really long time, but it's
Sounds great.
but it is a non-negotiable. And if you talk to anyone in my life, they hate the walk because they know that if you're dying, I'm not coming to your funeral because I gotta go for a walk. That walk is like a super important part of my day because it's also the part of my day where I get a lot of my creativity and ideas when I'm walking. That's huge. I have non-negotiable there. And my other non-negotiables have to go to the gym every single day. And it doesn't like, or, move my body every single morning. And especially me being like a very type A person, if I tell myself that's something that has to get done, and I like make it like almost a rule that we wake up every morning and we move our bodies, then I know it's going to get done. Like I would feel bad if it doesn't. And I know when I do that, I get my best ideas. I feel happier. I feel better. Like it sounds like it's almost like you have to kind of sometimes I like trick myself when I'm like, no, I don't have time to go on this walk. Like I have so much work to do. But then I'm like, no, but the walk is kind of actually working at the same time though. Like so yeah, it's creating those non-negotiables. And the second thing is also having a life outside of my business, which is a new thing I'm trying to teach myself. I have always like again, I've had my own business since I was 18. I've always been like a hustler. Like that's my thing. And my business has always been my identity. And I learned that, when I'm out in a social setting, people don't know what else to talk to me about except for my business. And I really noticed it after like COVID when we started to like, go out more and socialize with people. And I would like, or I would meet new people. And the only thing that people knew how to talk to me about was my business because I had nothing else. There was nothing else about me, And so that's when I started to kind of realize like, okay, I need to have hobbies and I need to have an identity outside of the business so that, maybe while I'm in this teeter-totter and maybe 1 month something, the business isn't doing well, that I don't feel like I'm not doing well. I have other things that can, make me feel like I'm a, good human being besides, how much revenue I've made. So every year I try and learn a new skill. So last year I learned how to rollerblade. The year before I learned how to skateboard. This year I learned how to play pickleball. So I try and find like little hobbies that like make me feel like I'm learning something and make me feel good about myself so that I, if for some reason my revenue's down, I'm like, but I can play pickleball, so it's fine. And
Yeah, there's so much important in that, being able to separate. And this doesn't get into the very potentially woo-woo topic of like work-life balance and all of that,
yeah.
which is a whole other thing. Being able to separate yourself from the company is really important.
Yes.
And really helpful.
Super.
It's really difficult. And I mean, I'm dealing with this right now. Like it's really difficult to take a step back and look at what's happening inside of a company when you're like, your head is so buried in it. I mean, it's impossible. You can't do it.
No.
So being able to separate yourself from that it's great that you've had that realization and are putting pieces in place to kind of force that.
Yeah.
On your 80-minute walk, this is fascinating. I love this. What do you do? Like, do you listen to headphones?
Yeah.
Do you take notes on a note taker, or is it like no tech, just brainstorm?
Yeah, it depends on the day. Usually I listen to a podcast. That's my favorite. I love listening to like a health podcast that like scares me about like, how we shouldn't eat oatmeal anymore or something. Like I love one of those.
I want to bring that back. I'm coming back to that. Because this happened to me recently with my wife, and it's so insane.
Yeah, I'm like, I drink everyone's Kool-Aid, like Liver King. I have a heart. There's still a heart in our freezer. I bought a heart. I watched I love that kind of
heart is good for you.
I never ate it. I never ate it. It just sits there.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I'll listen to a podcast. My mom, she owns a school. So in her summer, she's off. So in the summer, I like to take her on my walks, and we'll just talk about like life. And she has her own business as well. So it's really nice. We also talk about business a lot. And she really helps a lot with like the mental part of things, because she's also been through it all, like in her business as well. And so we'll chit chat. I'll call my sister, or like, I kind of just decide what I need that day to fill my cup. Sometimes I take work calls, or sometimes I just walk and I just ponder life. Like if I have
Amazing.
a lot in my head that day, like just like, silence is great.
Got it.
Yeah.
A week ago, 10 days ago, I'm bringing us back to the health podcast. My wife, my family, and I have 2 young kids, and my wife and my kids we were on a road trip, and it was a 6-hour drive. And so she plugs in a podcast, and it's super entertaining. It's like the skinny something. I don't know. It's a husband and wife. They're hilarious. They're entertaining. The guest on the first podcast is Dave Asprey, who's a super interesting guy, very strong opinions.
Though.
He's like, everything is going to kill you. Literally, if you think greens are good for you, think again, you're going to die, and you're going to get a ton of bladder infections. And because oxalates in kale, literally our entire garden is kale, spinach, chard, like all these things. He's like, you're dead. Raspberries. Yeah, you're going to die. The next podcast we listened to is the mental, I don't remember his name. His name was Andrew something. He like is a
Huberman?
No, it's not Andrew Huberman. I like him.
Okay.
This guy was like, literally, he came on and said the exact opposite. He's the one that this is terrible. It's going to make for really good podcast content. He's a medium. He's like the health medium. He just pulls the stuff out of the ether. And what he says is interesting. And he's also really strong opinions. The exact opposite. Spinach is your friend. You have to eat spinach. Make spinach soup. Literally the exact opposite on the same podcast. How is that possible? What are you supposed to do with that information?
That's so funny. Yeah, oh man, I'll fall into all that. I don't eat kale anymore. I specifically don't eat kale because Dave Asprey told me not to eat kale, so I don't eat kale anymore.
I just can't.
Yeah.
Like, look, unless you can show me some data
Yeah.
and some actual like good science behind it, I'm just not going to pay attention to it.
No.
And they're both, for complete opposite reasons, spouting incredible amounts of information, none of which has like any hard, or at least much hard data or science behind it. So that's where I put up my guardrail.
Yeah, it's funny because my boyfriend will make fun of me because there's like, I guess there's this thing going around on Instagram right now where if you have a girlfriend that's like me, who's very obsessed with, health and wellness, you call her your almond girlfriend. And that mean, like you're the girl that wakes up in the morning and drinks lemon water and sits in front of her red light therapy lamp and gua shas her face and drinks like electrolytes and mushroom coffee. And so it's a thing going around on Instagram. And so he like will send me those videos and he's like, why is this you? Why is this you? Why is this you? Because like someone tells me I need like I've got my red light therapy lamp right next to me here. I sit in front of it every morning and I don't know what it does for me, but heard on a podcast. Yeah.
All right. What is there anything you want to share? Where can people find you? We'll put links and everything in the show notes, but where do you want people to find you?
Well, you can find me lots of different places. Instagram is usually the most fun place because I hang out there the most. So it's at Drink Glowbody is the business Instagram. And then at glowwith.amita is my personal Instagram. And I post lots about my bodybuilding and about business stuff and the food I like to cook on there. So you can learn about that there. And then business is the drink Glowbody. My website is glowbody.ca. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to talk about my, journey on there, and buy my products because you're gonna love them.
That's amazing.
They're all across Canada.
Thank you so much for coming and being honest and telling your true story. I think that's where all the value is.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
A huge thanks to our guests today. Don't forget, this is powered by Pentane Financial and Advertising Command Center for Consumer Brands. Stop what you're doing, put your phone down, walk away from the computer screen, go outside, get some air, do something hard, push your limits, get uncomfortable, become more durable and more resilient, create the stamina required to get through those entrepreneurial barriers, stay in the game for as long as you can, and we will see you next time.